All right. Thank you guys for joining and clicking the link to see this short video. If you're here, that means that you're interested in starting a weed business, and I'm here to help. I think you can definitely do this. I think this is going to be an exciting process. This is going to be a challenging process. This process could get costly, but the reason you're doing it is because it's lucrative. So stay tuned. We're going to give an overview of the process. First of all, the first thing you really have to do when you're trying to start a cannabis business is establish the business, right? I've been an attorney in practice for years, and I've seen so many people just have terrible business practices. They don't have the forms filled out correctly. They have problems with their partners or their other people who are in the business with them, and they don't know how to fix it. We're going to make sure you get started on the right track if you go through our process. Also, you're going to have to lease or buy a properly zoned and locally approved location to do your cannabis business. We can tell you how to do that. I've seen bad leases. We've seen bad purchases by people, but you want to make sure on the front end that you have a properly zoned location. You're going to have to build that location out. You're going to have to get permits. If you want a cannabis dispensary, it's going to necessarily, the space is going to look different than if you want a cultivation. Right? That cultivation is going to have room for cloning and mother plants and flowering plants. If you're doing a retail location, you're going to have a location for product display. You're going to have a location for your sales registers. You're going to have a location for your safe to store money. We'll take you through that process. You're going to have local cannabis approval. That means your local government, wherever you live, right? Let's just say you live in the capital of California, Sacramento, California. That Sacramento local government, they're going to have to tell you it's okay to do your cannabis business. We'll take you through the steps of how to get them to say yes. You're going to need state cannabis approval, right? So not only is your local government going to have to say yes, your state's going to have to say yes. If you're in New York right now, you can only do medical cannabis. Soon enough, recreational cannabis is going to be online, and you're going to want to be in the business. So you're going to have to go through that process of getting the state to approve you. You're going to have to register for the right appropriate taxes: sales tax, special cannabis tax, local tax. We can cut through all of the headache and help you understand what you have to do. There's going to be ongoing compliance in your cannabis business, right? Which means you're going to have to make sure that you're tracking where the products are moving. There's going to have to mean that you're getting the product tested appropriately and then it's meeting the right requirements for the testing. Right? There's a lot of ongoing compliance. We can get you started on the right path, show you how to get this done. Last is the operations. That's really up to you. But if you use our service, we certainly can give you tips on operating after working with numerous cannabis operators who now have given us a baseline of how you do this thing. All right. So let's take a quick step. If you're interested now and you're still with us, right, you're probably thinking, well, what kind of cannabis business do you want to do? Right now, you can do cultivation, right, which is growing the flower and also processing it, so getting it in the right bags, getting it trimmed up, right, so that it has that nice haircut, that nice curb appeal, right? You have manufacturing. That's when you take cannabis flower and you turn it into something like a vape pen. You turn it into something like an extracted oil. You turn it into something like an edible, a cookie, right? A brownie. That's a whole process. You have to have a license to do manufacturing, okay? Distribution and transportation. That means that you got to pick the product up. Let's say you are a retailer. Well, how does the product get from a cultivator to a retailer? With a distributor in the middle, right? So you have to take it from the cultivator to the distributor, then it can get to the retailer. And you can be any types of these businesses that you want, and we can help you get there. Testing is another factor of the business, right? You have to have it independently tested by a third party to say, hey, this cannabis is safe and healthy for consumption by the consumers, right? Testing is its own specific type of commercial cannabis business. If you want to get into testing the product, not growing it, not selling it, but making sure it's safe, we can help you get into that business. Retail opportunity, that's both storefront and non-storefront, right? So a storefront is a brick and mortar business. You want to sell cannabis out of your location. Maybe you already have a building and you're like, hey man, I just need the licenses. We can definitely help you and make sure that makes sense. Or you may want to be interested in delivering cannabis. So people don't come to you, you go to them, right? Both of those are available commercial cannabis opportunities. You definitely want to tap in if you have that interest in. Biggest thing about cannabis also is to protect your brand, right? You want to have a brand. We all have heard of some of the biggest cannabis names, and the reason we know of these cannabis companies is because they have a great brand, okay? You're going to want to make sure you protect your brand at the very first startup moment of your business, and that starts with starting the business, giving us a call, and then figuring out what your brand is and how we can protect it, all right? Let me get into a little bit more of the details so you know, because this is all stuff that people can do on their own. This is stuff that people have been doing on their own, and it oftentimes runs into headaches and problems. So here's a little bit of a further breakdown of what we do. We'll register your entity of choice with the Secretary of State of your choice, right? So if you're in California, you would register with the California Secretary of State, right? If you're a cannabis business, there may be particular rules on whether you can be an LLC. I know you've heard of that type of business, or whether you can be a corporation, and we'll help you make that right decision. But generally, I'd suggest people start off with an LLC, as long as that's allowed by your local regulatory body, which means the people who are going to give you that permit. So we'll get you that LLC, no problem. An EIN number, that's a registration that you're going to need that says you're an employer identification number. That's what EIN, employer identification number. That EIN is going to allow you to open up a bank, if that's what you want to do. We know a lot of cannabis is unbanked because of the issues around it, but generally you're going to need an EIN to register for payroll. That's one thing you're going to have to do, which is once you get your employees in there, you're going to have to start paying them through payroll. So you're going to need an EIN to do this. We can help you grab that. Sometimes you're going to want a virtual address. Let's say you haven't locked down that location, right, for where you want to do your cannabis business. Let's say you want to do a cultivation. You don't have the actual physical building where you're going to grow the cannabis yet, but you know you're going to get that. You want to raise some money so that you can buy that property and get into the business. Well, you don't want to put your home address on any of the forms and the filings that you're going to start the process with. So we'll get you a virtual address so that you can start your business and use someone else's address. And then once you get your physical location, you update your address there, okay? Hassle-free yearly filings. Okay, this is not about just cannabis law. This is any type of business. There's so many papers. Did you do your quarterly statements? Did you do your annual statement of information? There's a bunch of different things that you need to make sure just the business itself stays compliant. If you come to us, we'll make sure that stuff is done hassle-free, no headache. You don't have to worry about it. We're going to make sure that your business is covered. And then again, it's up to you to make that money. It's up to you to go out there and sell that product and operate at a high level. All right. We'll also do quarterly check-ins with you just to check on the status of your business, right? How's everything been going? Have you had any changes? You might say, oh man, my partner Mike, he just left. Well, if he left, you want to make sure you're documenting that. You want to make sure that all goes into the corporate documents of your business, because when you're dealing with cannabis, it's highly regulated. A lot of us want to get in the industry because we know the industry, right? We know cannabis, but you also have to mix that with really good business practices, especially when the government is looking at you saying, are you following all the rules? Because you don't want to lose your license. And we've seen it happen way too many times. If you give us a call, we'll be able to help protect against that. All right. Here's a big thing that you're going to get as one of the products. If you give us a call, a customized cannabis operating agreement, right? So what does that mean? That means that's going to be the rules of how your business is run, right? That means, can your partner take out half the money out of in the middle of the year? Who gets to make decisions? Who gets to transfer? What if one of the partners leaves? Who then takes over the business? These are all questions that you have to have answered on the front side. If you don't get them answered on the front side, it's going to be a headache for you and your business. And this is not even just talking about selling or dispensing or whatever type of business you're doing with your cannabis. This is just talking about making sure your business entity that's holding the license and protecting you is doing what it's supposed to do, all right? Another thing, if you give us a call today, ask for a custom NDA, we will give you a non-disclosure agreement customized to you and your business if you buy it, if you shop with us. And what you're going to be able to do is go out there and secure money for your business. If you have a wonderful idea, hey, I have this cannabis business, but I don't want to tell everybody about it because then everyone would copy it. Well, you'll get a custom non-disclosure agreement from us where you get to secure your business and tell other people about it without worrying, oh my God, they're going to steal my idea, right? So you can go out to your friends and you go out to your family and say, hey, you want to get in the cannabis industry? Here's my idea, but you'll be protected right at the beginning. All right. And then the last, and I think the most important thing that we can offer you as our services here at our office is a custom cannabis licensing plan for your business type and your desired location. Right. So let's just say you're, again, in California and you don't know really what the laws are. We can give you a full breakdown of this is what it's going to take locally. This is what it's going to take on the state level. Right. We know that federally it's still illegal, but once feds do legalize cannabis, we'll help you and figure out what your compliance needs are on that structure. But for the time being, we will walk you through everything needed to get your license. And if you want us to help you get the license, that's something we can do too. Basically cutting through all of the headache. All right. So with that being said, schedule a call with my team today. Make sure you click the link. We'll be in touch. Get on the phone and see what we can do for you, and hopefully you'll be one step closer to reaching your dreams and having a successful cannabis business. Thanks.